This is the Womier SK75 TMR. It's a brand new magnetic keyboard with some of the most interesting features that I've seen from a magnetic keyboard in a long time. But is it actually worth it? Let's find that out. But before we get into the video, I do want to mention that this keyboard was sent out to me free of charge by Womier, but I'm not being paid to make this video, and every opinion given is mine and mine alone. So without further ado, let's get into the unboxing. When first opening the box, you'll first see the keyboard itself, packaged very safely and securely with these two cushions on each side. On top of the keyboard is a plastic dust cover. At the bottom of the box is the keyboard's manual. And in the accessories box are a few colored keycaps, a USB 2.4 GHz dongle, 4 extra switches, a decent length USB-A to USB-C cable, and lastly a keycap and switch puller. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the build of the SK75 TMR, starting with the case. The case is made from a very beautifully machined aluminum with this sandwich looking design and rounded edges. Along with the nicely etched Womier logo in the bottom right of the case, the aluminum itself is powder coated, making for this really pretty slightly sparkly look, which I think looks amazing, especially in direct light. When looking at the side of the keyboard, you'll also notice that it sits at a very comfortable typing angle by default. I'm saying by default like it can be changed, it can't, but I can't imagine anyone that would think this angle is not comfortable. Moving to the back of the board is a single USB-C port, which can be used to charge the battery, which I'll go over in a second, as well as be used if you want to use the keyboard wired, which you also have the ability to do. Moving to the bottom of the keyboard is this really pretty tinted mirror with what I can assume is some sort of stone or probably more likely rough metal around it. Personally, I really like the two-tone gray and black design, which they went for, and they're obviously, like I said, being a mirror with the rough different texture around it kind of just makes it feel really premium. I also never mentioned, I don't know the exact weight of the case, but it's a big chunk of metal and it's a very, very hefty keyboard. So just keep that in mind. I'm sure you already noticed that I haven't even mentioned a power switch, and there wasn't even one on the back of the board. And that's because to get to the power switch, you have to remove the caps lock keycap just to turn the keyboard off and on. In my opinion, having the on and off switch under a keycap is very inconvenient. I really don't like that. I think having just an extra step when trying to turn off and on a wireless keyboard is just super unnecessary. However, if you're just the type of person to just keep on your wireless keyboard and not turn it off, the really impressive 8,000 milliamp hour battery in this thing will definitely let you do that and then some. I'm not actually sure what the wattage it charges at, but I've only fully charged it to 100% the day that I got it, and since then I've been using it very consistently for about 3 weeks, and it's still at like 70 to 60%. Granted, that is with the RGBs off because I just prefer my wireless keyboards with the RGBs off, but considering it's an 8,000 milliamp hour battery, I don't think having the RGBs on will do that much. Also, one extra thing, you can hold the FN key plus backspace to see the battery percentage, which I find really helpful, and you can just do it anytime and it's just instant. You can just see the battery, whether it's at 1, it means it's at 10%, if it's at 0, it's at 100%. The keycaps on the SK75 TMR are made from a double shot PBT material and are cherry profile. They seem to be pretty well made with a pretty average texture on them. They have turquoise colored legends, which isn't a ton, but it definitely adds something to the keyboard, which I really like. Under the keycaps are obviously the switches. The switches in the SK75 TMR are magnetic switches, specifically the Otemu magnetic switches. However, unlike most magnetic keyboards, this one doesn't have Hall effect sensors on the PCB. Instead, as you probably guessed from the name, it uses TMR sensors. TMR stands for tunnel magnetoresistance and uses magnets just like normal Hall effect keyboards do. TMR sensors still allow for all the great Hall effect or magnetic keyboard features that you've come to expect, like SOCD, SnapTap, or adjustable actuation. However, where TMR sensors differ from HE sensors is how they measure the magnets. I'm not going to fully go in depth with like the science of these TMR sensors because we'd be here all day, but all you got to know is that keyboards with TMR sensors have higher precision, use less power, which on wireless keyboards means more battery life, are more stable and don't need calibration, and one more thing, but I'll go over that in a minute. Before moving on, I also want to mention how nice looking the top plate on this keyboard looks. I know it's a really small thing that doesn't really matter, but I don't know, it just looks really nice being like black and like bronze. Just looks nice. With that being said, here's a quick sound test of the SK75 TMR with the default switches in them. The stabilizers in this keyboard are pretty decent overall. They're clip-in instead of screw-in, which means if you want to just take them out, mod them, or just completely replace them, they're really easy to do that. My only complaint is while most of the stabs do sound decent and seem to be pretty well lubed, specifically the enter key on my keyboard is a bit rough and kind of sounds clicky and not that great. To be completely fair to Womier, I do have a pre-release version, so there's definitely a high chance that this will be ironed out by the time it actually releases, so I wouldn't necessarily be worried about it. Under the switches on the PCB are south-facing RGB diodes. They get pretty bright, have a ton of different colors you can choose from, as well as pre-made effects, which are all available in the software. Along with that, the PCB is hot swappable. However, instead of only being able to use magnetic switches, the SK75 TMR allows you to use mechanical switches as well with pins on the PCB. And it's not just one or the other, you can mix mechanical and magnetic switches all across the keyboard, which is really cool. The SK75 TMR has a polling rate of 8,000 Hz, which, like I always say, is pretty hard to tell the difference between 1,000 and 8,000, but it's never really a bad thing to have, and honestly, nowadays, it's kind of an expected thing. Some other things that the software allows you to do: you can make custom macros. However, I never mess with macros, so I don't know how in depth this software is. You can change the actuation of any switch from 0.1 millimeters to 3.2 millimeters. As well as that, you also have access to all of the other magnetic keyboard features that you'll see on other keyboards. I'm not going to fully go over them in this video because I've done that in so many other reviews of other keyboards, but if you are interested, you can go to another Hall Effect keyboard review of mine and go to the software features section. The Womier SK75 TMR comes in at a really impressive price of $130, and what you get is a very well built, very nice aluminum case with great filling switches and, in my opinion, a really nice sound, and all the other magnetic keyboard features. I don't think there's really any other keyboard in this price range that really compete with this one, but what do you guys think? So with all that being said, thank you for watching. I appreciate you for being here, and I hope to see you in the next videos of mine.